Hey everybody, we're going to get started with our sketchbook grid tutorial. For this example, we're going to be doing a 5" by 7" grid. So to get us started in our sketchbook, what we're going to do is take our piece of paper and our ruler, and we're going to line up the edges along the bottom. We're going to hold our ruler down, and then we're going to take a line across our ruler. What this does is it creates a border for us to do along the bottom and the side to get a parallel line. We want that line parallel so that we can then come over here and line up our ruler with the perforations in our sketchbook so that we can then come in and make another parallel line that's going to give us this 90-degree angle right in here. This spot here is going to be key for getting our grid right. So we're going to take the shorter of the two dimensions, which is going to be 5". We're going to match up our ruler along this line that we've created here. And at every inch, or the longest line with a number on it, we're going to come in and make a dot or a little tick mark that lets us know where that is starting. All right, so now you can see I've got all of my dots here. I'm going to turn my sketchbook paper, and in that same corner that we labeled with our arrow, we're going to line up our ruler. And this time we're going to take our longer dimension, which is going to be 7. And at our 1" mark, we're going to mark our 7 dots for 7 inches. All right, so we should have started with our ruler in the corner for both times to get those. Now, in order to know where this line is going to come across at, we're going to take our ruler to the very top. We're going to line it up, right, with the same line over here so that our 0 is sitting on the line. And we're going to come over 5 inches and make a mark up here at the top. So just a little mark at our 5. And then along our side, starting over here on our line, we're going to line up our 7 on this line, the line at the bottom of our sketchbook page. And at the very top, we're going to put a dot for 0. So now we have a dot at the top that's going to match with our 5 down here. And we have a dot on our side that's going to match up with our 7. Once we have that, we can take our 2 dots, put our pencil on it to make sure that we can get our pencil mark all the way across. We're going to push down on our ruler, and then we're going to drag across. So now we know that this is the top edge of our grid. Now we can line up our 5" dot on both ends of our paper. Make sure our pencil fits. And then we can draw that line down. All right, so in here we now have the grid we're going to work off of. We can come up, line up our 5 and our 0, and we can make those dots again at each inch to give our inches down here a buddy. And we can turn and fit our 7 inches between these two lines, and then mark at every inch. Making sure that our ruler is always in the corner is going to ensure that we have a good grid. So now in our sketchbook, we have plenty of space on the outside. We have some space up here to take notes about what we're doing. And we have room over here for a value scale. So what we can do next is line up our dots along the top, our 5 inches, and very lightly with a very sharp pencil, we're going to pull through to get some nice light grid marks that we're going to be able to erase later. Now we can go ahead and do the next dot. And I always pull through a little bit longer than I need to. That way I always know where my labels can go. Make sure those two fit. Pull through. Make sure those two fit. and pull through. And now I have all 5 across. So I like to take my shorter dimension at the top, and I use it with letters just because we have less letters than numbers. So first one A, then B, C, D, and E. So now I'm going to be able to take my ruler, turn it to the side, and start lining up the longer dimensions. So I'll make sure my pencil can go on each end and pull through nice and lightly. Same thing on our next one. Pull through nice and lightly. So if you press down really hard, there's a chance you might move your ruler and then your line will be off. There's also a chance that you're going to dig too deep into the paper and you won't be able to erase your lines, which won't look good on your summative projects. And it'll mark off points on your formative assignments. So make sure you're making these nice and light. All right, so now I have my perfect grid set up. I just have to label my side. I'm going to go ahead and do that with numbers. So now I'm able to reference, right, D4, B2, E6, and figure out where any of these boxes are at any given time. Now I can come over, and on this side, I can go ahead and measure an 1/2 inch out. So our 1/2 inch is going to be our second longest mark halfway between our 0 and our 1. And I can make another mark at 1.5 inches, which is halfway between the 1 and the 2, the second longest line in the middle. I can come down to the bottom and do the same thing down here. 1/2 inch, 1.5 inch. If you're wondering what are we measuring from, it's from this long line that we made for our 5 inch. And what we're doing is giving ourselves a little bit of space to make our value chart. We already have our 7 inches marked out. So all we have to do now is continue these lines over. And we already know then that all of these boxes will be 1 inch by 1 inch. So your value chart doesn't need to be perfect, but it's always good practice to keep using your ruler, practice your measuring, and practice your straight lines. So once we have our value scale set up, we can label it at the top, our value scale, and then we can label our numbers down the side. So 7 will be your darkest, 1 will be your lightest, and now we've got room up at the top for notes. So that's how you make a 5 inch by 7 inch grid with a 7-step value chart. All right, in our next video, we'll go ahead and shade in our value scale.